Hi, I'm Susanna Bowling, and this is live from the Hotel Edison, Times Square Chronicles presents. I met my next guest years ago when I was at a cabaret watching somebody else. It turns out that she had a song that was written in the cabaret, and we had a lot in common. We both were singers. She was still singing. I was not. I was now writing. She wrote songs. She was funny. She had a restaurant in Provincetown, and I had performed in Provincetown, and we became friends. And then I watched her last year become Rosemary Clooney, and she blew me away. It is one of the best performances that I have seen. She's now doing it in Europe, as well as coming to 54 Below. She is the executive director of the American Songbook Association. Caroline.
Yes.
What made you take on Rosemary Clooney? You're so perfect for it, but what made you do it?
Thank you. First of all, I love her. There's nobody that makes sound like Rosemary Clooney. She's incredible, and I've always loved her music. I started to be curious about her as a woman, as a person, the way you do when you're growing up, and all of a sudden your mother becomes real, you know. and I look, and she was born the same year as my mom, and so I started.
Oh, so she could have been your mom.
She could have been my mom, and I looked at and read everything about her. And then Sally Mays, who said, you ought to do Rosemary Clooney show, gave me a book called Girl Singer, which was her autobiography, one of them. And I first read it and I was absolutely like, nope, can't do the show. No two women were any more different. Couldn't do it. And Sally said, I don't know. I think you ought to read that again. And you know when something is so close to you that you have an aversion to it?
You deny it.
You
Yes.
deny it. Exactly. And short story shorter, I all of a sudden realized that even though the specifics of our lives are very different, we're very similar women in that we tried to please people for the first half of our lives all the time, which is a futile proposition.
Yes, because unfortunately you never please them.
No, you can't. You can't please everybody all the time. And if you're trying to do that, you never can please yourself. So I discovered that, and we both had sort of a midlife change. And I decided that I wanted to do the show. I make a big point of saying, I don't think I do sound like her. Some people feel that
I think you do.
Do you? Oh, that's
I
interesting.
do.
That's interesting, and what a
And
compliment.
I'm picky on that.
Yeah.
But no, there's certain reflections, and I mean, do I think you totally sound like you're mimicking her? No. But I think that you bring the essence.
That's
of
what
who
I'm
she
trying
is.
to do. That's what I'm trying to do, get a feel for it. But I had one person who didn't write any. I got wonderful reviews, which was a real shot in the arm. It had been 8 years since I had done a show.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. And so I got great reviews. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But one person who was very close to me said, well, you don't sound like Rosemary Clooney at all. And I said, I'm not trying to be Rosemary Clooney. She already was, and she was fabulous. If you want to hear Rosemary Clooney, go to a YouTube video. There are about 153. I'm just trying to bring her essence in, so thank you for saying that.
No, you're welcome. It's what it was.
Thanks.
I mean, there's certain sounds that you do like her, but are they all the same? No.
Yeah.
You're a different singer.
Yeah.
But did I think that I was listening to Rosemary Clooney? Yes.
Oh, I love hearing that. That's really great.
And it was lovely because I was sitting near Sherry Eaker and some other cabaret people, and they didn't know that exactly what you did. Like they knew, but they didn't know, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, that was very sweet, and Sherry couldn't have been more gracious and lovely. You know, one of the things about it, excuse me, I lost my little thing.
That's
there
okay.
we go.
That's what we love about this show. We keep it real.
Exactly. I called Ted Firth because I knew he was the one I wanted. And he, Ted's so busy. He plays for Marilyn May, he plays for Melissa Errico and Brian Stokes Mitchell, Bernadette Peters, Michael Feinstein. And he said, "Oh, hon, he didn't call me hon. He said, "Oh, Carolyn, I'm busy, and I would love to do it." And I sort of pestered him until he finally said, "Okay, let's get together and rehearse," and we did, and the rest is history. But I also got Warren Vacher, who played for Rosemary Clooney. He's a trumpet player, wonderful. Sherry Miracle is my percussionist, and she played for Rosemary Clooney. So I've got a really great ensemble too. Really lucky.
Of all the songs that made you go, oh, yes, I have to do this, what song and why?
Well, this is really interesting because it never was my favorite until it was.
Yes, of course.
Tenderly.
Really?
Tenderly. And I do a bait and switch in the song and the show that you have to see the show in order to hear about it. But it goes from being a beautiful, ethereal young woman to a very, very hurt older woman. And it's seamless the way Ted and I arranged it, but it was pretty much, that's what, I had that concept the moment I heard it, the moment I heard her sing it.
Is there a song in there that you wish had made it in, but it just didn't fit the rhythm of the show?
Yeah, there are a couple that we cut, actually, and one of them was Blame It on My Youth.
Oh, I love that song.
I do, too. And we sort of went into a ballad valley, and there was no place to put it, and just because you like a song,
doesn't mean it works.
Doesn't mean it works. And so we cut it. And we cut another one. We cut Paper Moon.
Oh.
And we cut that. And I wanted to keep it because I really sang it well. And it had this huge belty ending. And I was like, I want to show off. But you know, as a writer, that anything you're too wed to, that's something you can't get rid of, you ought to cut it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's going to stop the show.
That's right. It's in its ego rather than,
right.
Yeah.
That's why I asked the question, because in putting together a show, there's always these songs that you're dying to do.
Totally.
And you're like, it doesn't fit. Why
That's
am I
right.
doing that?
That's right. But it would be like showing up in a really nice bikini if you have a beautiful figure at a fancy black tie ball. It's inappropriate.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter how good you look.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is my favorite question to ask.
Okay.
They say that eyes are the windows of the soul, but I think songs are. What song or cycle of songs, you can do more than one, says who CArolyn Montgomery is?
Okay. The one in the show, but it's also carried on through. It's the only song in the Rosemary Clooney show that I've been doing for more than 20 years. And it is The Masquerade is Over. And I think when you grow up the way I did, and I had a wonderful upbringing. I came from a very socially connected family, and you learn how to masquerade. You learn how to be everything for everybody in the moment, to say the right things and to do the right things. And then hopefully you have a moment in your life where you look yourself squarely in the eye in the mirror and say, wait, who are you and how do you really feel?
For me, that was Slipping and Falling at Duane Reade.
Yeah. Yep. The other one that I'm crazy about is Joni Mitchell's Case of You.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I think I know why you're singing that one.
Well, I think there is nothing more profound and amazing than deep, real, romantic love.
Yes.
And it doesn't always stay that way. It's not that way day in, day out. But when you have it, you know it. And
well, you also have a deep romantic, though I'm sure it's a platonic romantic, with your son Eli, who is now a major model.
He is. He is walking the runway. He is represented by New York models, and he thinks it's a hoot. He has such a good time.
Did you ever think this would happen?
No, absolutely not. And we're both tickled by it and enjoy it. He hopes to travel a lot with it. He loves travel as much as I do. It opens doors, and I took him everywhere when he was little. We were really, and though I wouldn't say it defines my life, Anne Murray's You and Me Against the World.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I hear it, I just sit and cry because we've been through a lot, that boy and me. But
does he still play guitar?
He does beautifully, actually, and sings so well. But
didn't Sean Harkness teach him?
Yeah, actually, Matt Sharfglass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, both of them yummy, aren't they? Both
yes,
of them, yes.
And yummy when they're playing.
And Matt Sharfglass is still my bass player. And he taught Eli guitar, and Eli loves to play, but one of the greatest moments in my life was when he performed, and he was so good. He got up in a cabaret night for the Avenue School that he attended his sophomore year and sang Madeline.
Jacques Brel?
Yes, Jacques Brel. stole the show. When it was over, he turned to me and said, I don't think I want to perform. And I thought, great, good. Math and science, kid.
Yeah, and my son went straight into film and straight into art direction.
I think the part of fashion that does interest Eli is the administration, running a fashion design house. That would interest him.
Now, you are also the executive director. How did this happen?
So I started it I was out having lunch with Peter Levy, God rest his wonderful soul, and Frank Dane of Cabaret Scenes. And I thought one of the most important way to promote and preserve and protect the American songbook, which I think is still being written,
I agree,
and is also all American legacies, meaning jazz, musical theater, and classic song, it needed to be taught more in schools. And also I had been reading about how, you all right?
Yeah.
Allergies. Water?
What
Okay,
can
I
I
was going to say, yeah. And I was reading about how music changes neural pathways.
Yes.
And I mean, it changes them in 15 minutes. You don't
No,
need
I wrote
much.
about this, yes.
Yes, it's unbelievable. And when Eli went to school, I made a point as a single mom, it was not easy to send him to a private school. 35% of private school education is visual and music, visual arts and music. They know that it makes smarter kids. And they're not making little artists. They're making kids that think creatively and differently.
And out of the box.
And so I felt that, like everything else in this country, there's a huge disparity of...
Massively.
That's right, of wealth and education, which if you're wealthy, you get a good education, and if you're not, you don't, typically. Unless you're exceptional.
Well, and now they've taken music out of school.
Oh, it's the first thing to be cut.
And I don't understand why.
Because it's expensive. So the American Songbook Association brings music classes free of charge, 100% free of charge, to underserved students, underserved schools in all 5 boroughs of New York and in Chicago. So
also Chicago?
It is my intent to do it in all 50 states of the Union. That's where I'm trying to go.
No, love it.
Yeah.
I do love it.
It changes. If we're going to level the playing field in this country and we're going to start... the average reading level for adults between the ages of 16 and 74 in this country is lower than 6th grade.
You've got to be kidding.
Nope. So we've got to up our game in terms of public education.
Yes, because if we're not educated, where do we go?
That's right. We're nothing. So music is a big piece of that. And I want to level the playing field. And somebody once said to me, well, that's a lofty goal. But, Marvin Hamlish said to me...
But if you don't have lofty goals, what do you have?
Exactly. And Marvin Hamlish, another God rest his soul, said to me, we're losing brilliant musicians every day. Because if your parents or your school doesn't encourage it,
right,
how are you supposed to know?
Or, like, at one point I went to public school, not long, but I did. And you had to buy your own instrument. So if you couldn't afford your instrument... You weren't playing.
That's right. There are nonprofits now like School for Strings, which goes into public schools and provides all the string instruments. The American Songbook Association, these are good. And again, we're not creating little musicians. There are plenty of great organizations that do that. Rosie's Broadway Kids, all sorts of places like that. We're not that. This is for everybody. We also are doing programs for differently abled children at the Henry Viscardi School. They're non-ambulatory, non-verbal.
Love it.
And they respond to music. It's incredible. So,
yeah, my friend Daisy Joplin does that for schools. How can people get involved?
So you can look us up on the web, www.americansongbookassociation.org. We are doing a fundraiser through the end of the year called Music Opens Doors. We've raised about $50,000. So, and it costs $375 to go to, because we pay our musicians. We also will not ask musicians to work for free. We won't do it. So we do 12-week programs and we do 2-hour programs. And we show people how much it costs to do each one. We break it down and we are completely transparent. You can go onto GuideStar and see that all of our funds, there are only 2 people that are paid on the staff and the rest of the money goes to the programs for the children.
I love that.
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, isn't there a benefit coming up at Chelsea Table and Stage for this?
We did a benefit last year. We have a huge gala, which we actually put off for a variety of reasons. That's not happening till October of 2025.
Okay.
We did a big one for Betty Buckley. We had 11 Tony Award winners. It was sold out with a waiting list longer than the number of seats in the house.
Amazing.
Yeah, so the next one is going to be at Carnegie Hall, Zankel Hall.
Okay.
And we're not announcing who the guest is, but it is fabulous. Yeah.
I love when you know something like that.
I'm so excited. I can't tell you. It's really exciting. Yeah.
What would you like people to know about your Rosemary Clooney show? First of all, when is it at 54 Below?
It's on November the 19th, which is a Tuesday night, which turns out to be a very lucky night for me because I've sold out every show has been on a Tuesday. Go figure.
Wow.
I know. And it seems to be a good night for some. And it's at November the 19th at 7 o'clock. And there are seats left, actually. So I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, I'm going to have Magda slice in some of the clips and the music
good.
that I took in so people can hear just how amazing she is.
Oh, thank you.
What haven't I asked you?
Well, I'm also working on a show of all my own music.
So you are still writing?
I am still
writing. Because you
writing.
are funny.
Well, I just wrote a song that I did at a songwriter's show, and I was afraid that people would think it was mean-spirited, but it wasn't. It's called I Know What You Meant, and it's about backhanded compliments.
Ah.
And it's funny. It's funny, and it was things that have actually been said to me. And then somebody says, I what I meant was, and the chorus is, I know what you meant. You meant
it's
what
like
you said.
Mrs. Worthington.
Exactly. And by the end of it, the whole audience was saying, I know what you meant. It was very funny. So.
If I'm not mistaken, when I first met you, around the time I first met you, you were doing Wicked songs with Sidney Meyer?
Oh, we were doing Dirty Little Songs.
That's it.
with Jay Rogers, who is one of my very closest friends and who died 2 years ago yesterday.
Oh.
And Eric Michael Gillette.
Yep.
And Sidney Meyer. And
you wrote a song for that, didn't
I
you?
did. I wrote 2 songs for it.
What were they? Because
one was called The Lebanese Lament. Everyone enjoys the lesbian after a cocktail or two.
Yeah, that one.
And the other one was called Booking, and it was a duet between Sidney and Jay, where Jay would say, I've been booked by the best, I've been booked by the worst, but Sidney, I've never been booked by you. And it was very funny. The two of them were cute.
So when are you planning on doing this one?
I'm not sure. John Weber has agreed to play with me because he's so funny, and I'm in the process of writing it, and I want to write particularly from a woman's perspective, and universally, not necessarily a woman over a certain age or a woman, just a woman's perspective. And John is, believe it or not, very helpful in that way.
Really?
Yeah, he's terrific. He's really wonderful and very funny. So I want people to laugh and enjoy, and it can be pointed, but I think you can make a point without hurting anybody. And if people would just keep that in mind. And the proudest moment I have with Eli is that he puts his hand out, he looks you in the eye, he says, hello, and I thought to myself, well, he's got manners and a work ethic, so he's going to be okay.
Well, I can't wait to see your show again.
I'm thrilled that
because
you're coming.
I loved
Thank you.
it.
Thanks.
I would like to thank my guest, CArolyn Montgomery. I can't wait to see your show, 19th, Studio 54, 7 p.m. I'd like to thank Magda Katz for always making us look good and sound good. And I would like to thank the Hotel Edison for giving us a home and always making us feel welcome. I'm Susanna Bowling, and this is Live from the Hotel Edison, Times Square Chronicles presents.